without further ado, the great Tom Fontana. So I'm gonna...
You're about to see how not great I am.
Not at all. I'm actually going to read a little bit of your bio in front of you to make it really comfortable for you. Okay. All right. Tom Fontana has written and produced such groundbreaking television series as Saint Elsewhere, Homicide, Life on the Street, Oz, and Netflix Borgia. Fontana wrote the HBO film Strip Search, directed by Sidney Lumet, as well as contributed 2 pieces to the September 11th Special America, A Tribute to Heroes, and was an executive producer and co-creator of the AMC Canal Plus series Monsieur Spade. He has received many, many, many awards, including 3 Emmy Awards and 4 Peabody Awards. No biggie. Yeah, that's right. He has taught at Columbia, Syracuse, Rutgers, and the State University College of Buffalo, his alma mater, from which he received the Distinguished Alumni Award and an honorary doctorate of letters. Fontana has had numerous plays produced in New York, where he lives, as well as in San Francisco's American Conservatory Theater, the Cincinnati Playhouse in the Park, the Williamstown Theater Festival, the McCarter Theater Company, and the Berkshire Playwrights Lab. He is an all-round, fantastic Sicilian man from Buffalo, New York, and a true writing giant and mogul in this industry. Please welcome Tom Fontana. I had to sneak that one in.
I'm glad you did. Frank and I have been, since yesterday, bonding with our Sicilian heritage, so...
Well, welcome to New Orleans.
Thank you. It's good to be back.
Yeah, I know. In the spirit of New Orleans, I know you have kind of a fun story about running into one of the famous writers of this region in an elevator.
Oh, yes. Many years ago, I lived in Manhattan Plaza, which is the subsidized housing in New York for artists. And one of the people who also lived there, who was paying fair market value, was Tennessee Williams. And I had worked with Tennessee at Studio Arena Theater on Streetcar Named Desire, on a production of Streetcar, and at Williamstown on a production of Camino Real. So he had said to me, call me Tom, and I said, well, then you can call me Tom. And since we lived in the same building, we would see each other occasionally. Hi, Tom. Hi, Tom. I'm not going to do the Southern accent because I stink at it. But so one day I walked up to the elevator and Tom walked up next to me and we were chatting and the doors opened and we got in and it was a very windy night and it was howling wind. And the elevator doors closed and he turned to me and he said, "The wind, you know, it speaks to me." And the elevator doors opened, and I went, "Bye, Tom," and I ran out. And those were the last words that he ever said to me. So take them for what you will.
Got to get that engraved on a big sign above something.
Yeah.
You know, clearly you have so much. You've just had a huge career. You have so much work, so many collaborations. But I kind of want to start out with Tom, the guy who writes. I think we have a lot of writers here and creators, and we just want to know about you, your process, why you do what you do. So I'm going to quote you that I heard on an interview recently. You said, 1,000 years ago, I made a deal with God, or whoever's in charge of these things, and I said, if I could just make a living being a writer, I promise I will do it every day and with my full heart. When was this? Take us to that moment. And has this, have you kept your end of the deal and has God?
I was living in New York. I'd moved to New York to be a playwright and I was starving. I was what we used to call an urban gypsy, which meant I would sleep on people's couches. Or if they went on vacation, I would water their plants and feed their cat. And it really got to be a drag. I was, carrying this one suitcase around. And so I made this deal with God. And I have every day since then. I get up at 5 a.m. every single morning, and I write. And so far, God's kept his part of the bargain as well. So, and you really don't want to go back on a promise to God. You really, it's not going to, there'll be locusts and all kinds of stuff going on. So.
And you really have never missed a day. You just.
And even sick, no, I get up. I mean, some days I write for just an hour.
Right.
But mostly I write for 5, 6, 7 hours.
Wow.
Oh.
That's incredible. And how...
It takes that long for me to get one good word.
No.
So.
And you'll write anything, whatever you're working on. What will you just journal? Will that be part of it or not?
No,
really?
not really. No,
Real,
no.
just your work.
It's creative. It's like, if I'm not writing a series, TV series, then I'll write a short story, or I'll write a play, or not poetry, because I truly stink at poetry.
No. So why writing? How did that start for you? Growing up in Buffalo.
Well,
it's
my parents, who were not particularly theater-going people, took. I have 4 siblings, and they took us to see this production of Alice in Wonderland at what was then the Studio Theater, and I was sitting there. I was probably 7 or 8. I don't remember exactly, and this big white rabbit came running down the aisle saying, I'm late for a very important date. Jumped up on stage. Well, I just thought that was the most tremendous thing I'd ever seen in my life, and I went home that night and started writing dialogue, even though I didn't really know what dialogue was. I was mostly writing things I heard neighbors or my family say. So that's when I started. Yeah.
And I've read that do you really write longhand? You do
do
not have a computer?
Nope.
Or a typewriter?
Nope.
Still to this day?
No. Yeah.
You've created a huge series and you write it on a legal pad?
On a yellow legal pad with a pen, and I write it twice. I write it once like really fast to get it all down, and then I go very much into my Catholic parochial school, because I'm still afraid the nuns are going to slap my hands if I do it wrong. So, and then I give it to my assistant, and he or she types it up.
Is there something that happens for you that it needs to go through that process?
Well, personally, and I can't speak for anybody else, but there's something about the physicality of writing, just having a pen in your hand and writing, and sort of your heart and your soul and your brain are all, it's very sensual. You know what I mean? And the bonus is when it's crap, you can crumble up the paper and throw it as hard as you can across the room, and that is such a liberating feeling, because you go like, whereas I don't know if pushing delete really would have the same kind of like emotional reaction.
Right.
Yeah.
You said today, which is shocking, but I loved hearing at the same time, was you said, I hate everything. I hate reading. You said you were talking about how you were working on a series and you were partnering, and then you guys read it and you're like, oh, this is crap.
Yeah.
I hate this. And you said, I said, you did? You felt that way? And you go, oh, I always feel that way.
Yeah, I hate everything I write. Yeah.
Tell us, what?
It's funny because when I'm starting a new thing, I'm writing and I'm going, and then I hit a day where I go like, oh, yeah, this is pretty good, yeah. And then the next day I read it again and go, no, it's really bad. So I don't know. I think if I started to really like my stuff, I would not work as hard to make it better, I guess,
Yeah. What is your process? Do you always have someone read it for you? Do you always do, like, what is your process once you are by yourself writing what you write? Do you have a couple people that you always go to? Do you have a table read? Do you have a very specific process?
It depends on the piece. If it's a pilot, it's one thing. If it's a play, it's another thing. But my business partner is Barry Levinson, who, has had kind of a career. So I give him first everything that I write, and and he has such precise, wonderful notes that it really is great to be working with him. And then there are a couple of other people that I trust, because the thing about it is you have to, and for me, I have to give it to people who are friends but aren't going to lie to me. That if it isn't any good, they'll tell me that. As hard as that is, it's hard for them to say it and hard for me to hear it. But I think it's important, because if it's somebody arbitrary, you give it to somebody arbitrary, sometimes people are like, well, if I was writing this, I would do such and such. Well, that's the worst thing you can say to a writer. It's absolutely the worst, because if you were going to write it, you should have written it, as opposed to, so it's tricky who to give it to. But I do, when I've written plays, I like having a sit around and read it and see how it sounds. When it's a pilot, I don't do that as much. Yeah.
Can you talk about your partnership with Barry Levinson?
Sure.
How did that even begin? How did that start for you?
Well, he got sent a book by a writer named David Simon, and it was called Homicide: A Year on the Killing Streets, and it was about David had spent a year, he was a Baltimore Sun paper reporter, and he'd spent a year following the homicide unit around. And he wrote this brilliant book, which still to me is the best nonfiction crime book I've ever read. And anyway, they gave it to Barry, thinking, well, he's from Baltimore, he'll want to do this as a movie. Well, Barry read it and said, this isn't a movie, it's a television series. There's too much here to do in 2 hours. So he sold the show to NBC, and they were looking for a showrunner. And Barry was meeting all these LA showrunners and didn't respond to any of them. Meanwhile, I was in New York, sort of, I don't know, writing epic poems or something. And I get a call. Barry Levinson wants you to fly out to Los Angeles to talk to him about a series. And they said, it's a cop show. And I said, well, there'll never be a better cop show than Hill Street Blues, so I'm really not interested. And my agents were like, stop being an idiot, get on a plane. And so I flew out, met with Barry, and he said to me, I want to do a cop show with no gun battles and no car chases. And I said, that's impossible, I'll do it. Because it seemed so incredibly crazy and impossible, and I thought, well, we'll get canceled in about a week, and then it'll be over. But so that's how we started as partners.
And then continued on.
Yeah, all these years. Yeah.
And what would you say is the thing that makes you click together?
I think because we both love writing and storytelling, and I think we both respect the way each other like to tell stories, because we don't tell stories the same way. So I think that's it. I mean, and also, and I'll be talking about this a lot tomorrow, character. We're both fascinated. I'll tell you very quickly.
No, you can make it long. It's okay.
HBO wanted us, sent us a script to do a film about Kevorkian. And I was in South Africa shooting something, and Barry sent me the script, and he said, read this and see if you think we should do it. And I read it, and it was like a docudrama. It was very kind of like the anti, people who were against Kevorkian and the whole death with dignity thing were evil, and it was just, I thought, really poorly written. I hope the writer isn't here. And anyway, I said to him, Barry, why do you want to do this? And he literally goes, I don't know, this Kevorkian guy, he makes me laugh. And I was like, okay. So we did a rewrite on the script, and we shot it with Pacino.
No biggie.
Yeah.
Yeah, no biggie.
So it's called You Don't Know Jack. If you ever want to watch it on HBO.
I love that. You, well, in researching you / stalking you online and speaking to your friends and your colleagues, you just seem as a professional and a creative, but also as a person. It's in your DNA to mentor and to look after writers, whether they're on your staff, whether they're assisting you, whether it's you're teaching them. But did this start with your work on Saint Elsewhere? Can you tell a little bit? Well, did it start then? And can you also tell the story of how you got on Saint Elsewhere?
All right, so I'm back to being a starving playwright. And I had a play being done up at the Williamstown Theater Festival. And it was in the second company, which was a repertory company of young, really young actors. David Hyde Pierce, before he got his equity card, people like that. And I'd written this piece based on a Washington Irving short story, and Blythe Danner, who was in the company, in the main company, came to see it with her two little children, Gwyneth and Jake, and they were very, very excited. They were like, oh, and they went to Bruce and they said, Bruce Paltrow, Blythe's husband, oh, Bruce, you got to go see Tom's play. It's really a lot of fun, blah, 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 blah. So the play was in repertory all summer, and Bruce was not there to see my stupid play. He was there to see Blythe do Chekhov and play with the kids and play tennis. That was basically why I was there. And the distance from the house they had rented to with a theater where my play was being done was like from the back wall to Charles Street. He had to drive by the theater, going to his house every single day. And the whole summer goes by, and he never comes see the play. And Blythe is pissed off at him because she knows I'm starving. And she's like, and he was about to start this new TV series, St. Elsewhere, and she said, you have to give Tom one of the early scripts because he needs the money. And he was like, all right, I'll give him a script, right? Well, I believe that if he had seen the play, he would never, ever have hired me. So my advice to young writers everywhere is don't be too aggressive. Sometimes you just got to let it happen.
Yeah, and then you go to work, do St. Elsewhere.
Yeah.
And was he a real mentor to you?
Oh, he was a complete mentor because I knew nothing about writing for television. What
do you think? Could you say he taught you that you would pass on or?
Well, the first thing he said to me was, "Stop trying to imitate other television shows." He said, "I'm paying you retail and I'm getting wholesale." And he said, you have to look at when you're writing it, you have to look at I don't know how to put this. He said your mind already is the camera. So your mind is already seeing how it's going to be shot. But you're just writing it like it's a big proscenium stage with entrance and exits and all that stuff. You're not dealing with cutting and all the stuff that film and television can do. So he kind of liberated me from just my old habits, I guess,
As a playwright, you mean?
As a playwright, yeah. But I mean, the whole idea of don't imitate other TV shows. So many writers who want to do television, who I get their scripts, they're all like versions of show we've all seen. And
do you think people are just wanting to make sure that they're doing something that will be liked or fit into a mold? I mean, is it
may
just
be,
fear-based?
and and again, we'll talk about this tomorrow, but you have to decide what kind of writer you want to be. do you want to do Marvel movies, which I'm not denigrating Marvel movies, but they're a different kind of writing than something that's very deeply personal, human, emotional. And so you have to decide which kind of writer you want to be. And if you want to write Marvel movies and make $7 zillion, well, except now with AI, you won't make any money, but that's a whole other conversation.
Right.
Or you want to write stuff that matters. And if you want to write stuff that matters, then that's what you have to focus on.
Did you ever have to waver that, or do you remember the moment when you're like, okay, from now on, I'm going to be writing this? Or did the St. Elsewhere just kind of
Yeah, St. Elsewhere kind of put me on a path, because it was MTM, which was the best studio in Hollywood at the time. You know, they were doing the Mary Tyler Moore Show and Lou Grant and Newhart and all that great stuff, and Hill Street Blues, and the quality. Well, you had to live up to the quality. So that I've sort of never looked back after that. Not that I haven't made crap. I have made crap.
No. Do you get insecure? I mean, I know you said you hate it, but do you got to know back there that you're Tom Fontana, right? When you're writing. Do you do that? Do you know?
I don't. What I don't.
At the end result, it's gonna be good.
No, I never know that.
Really?
No. In fact, one of the reasons I never watch any of my old shows is because I'm always going, oh, now I know how to write that scene. Can we get everybody back? You know, when we reshoot it, it'll be great this time.
Right. Can we talk about Oz?
Sure.
Are you familiar with Oz? Yeah, it's so great. It's groundbreaking. It was also one of the first series that HBO picked up for television.
It was the first drama series they ever did.
But they were just doing film at the time, right?
It had a couple half hours,
Okay.
but I can't remember what they are.
What inspired you with Oz? How did you write this? What is it for you?
Well, it's funny. There were two things that motivated. One was we were doing Homicide, and unlike most cop shows, we didn't always get the bad guy. But when we did get the bad guy, off they went to prison. And I was like, well, what happens when they go to prison? And in David's book, there's a section where there's a riot at the prison in Baltimore. And I thought, oh, well, I'm going to write that and see what that feels like. And I wrote it. And one of the fun things we did was we had the actors who'd played earlier on the show and had been caught. We now saw them in the prison, which I thought was kind of fun. And Rock Dutton played the lead the lead guest part, and ironically, he had been a prisoner in that prison in Baltimore. So there was all kinds of stuff going on. Anyway, there was that. Made me go like, well, who are these people that are in prison? I mean, they're sort of faceless. We forget them. They're bad and they're gone, and who cares, right?
Right.
And the other thing was, back when I was, I don't know, a teenager, Attica, the riots at Attica happened, and that had a huge impact, because I'm from Buffalo, and Attica's not that far from Buffalo. So that was always in my head, because the governor sent in the National Guard, and they just shot everybody, the prisoners and the COs, and it all just seemed so wrong to me.
Right.
So the combination of those things, I got the brilliant idea to do a prison show. And at that time there were 4 networks, NBC, CBS, ABC, and Fox, and I went and pitched it at all 4 networks, and basically they looked at me like I was the stupidest human being on the planet. Like, well, how could you think we'd want to do this show? And then a friend of mine was in a meeting with Chris Albrecht, who was head of HBO at the time, and Chris made an offhand comment about their prison dramas doing very well, prison documentaries doing very well. and my friend left the meeting and called me in New York, and he said, you know, again, I got the get on a plane and come to Los Angeles. He goes, there's somebody stupid enough to do your prison show. So,
That's so good.
by the way, you know, Scott Winters is here.
No,
He played
Scott Winters, gotta wave.
Cyril O'Reilly.
Yes. Yes, I have to give a nod to Scott, because Scott has actually worked with you on 4 of your series. 4, is that correct? Yeah, no biggie. Also very great. And can you talk a little bit about your relationship of a writer to an actor? Because Scott's not the only actor that you have brought along with you from show to show, and you're also friends, and you like each other, and you talk about things that are not about the business only. And can you, speak professionally to that relationship for those that are writers here or actors? What really makes that successful between the writer and actor?
For me, I mean, first of all, being the showrunner, I get to hire the actors, so that is important. And oftentimes, I'll actually write a part for an actor that I've worked with, like Cyril O'Reilly, the part I wrote for Scott. So there's already a kind of a understanding between the actor and myself. That we're going to be able to communicate. But one of the things that I've learned doing episodic is in the beginning of the season, of the very first season, I know everything about the characters, and the actor knows nothing. And very soon, the actor knows more about the character than I do. And so whereas initially I'll go, hey, this is what I'm going to do with the character. Then it becomes like, do you think this is a good idea for this? Does this make sense for the character? And one of the other things I do is in between the seasons, during the hiatus, I have one-on-one meetings with each actor, the main actors, and I say, you know, what song haven't you sung? What dance haven't you danced? Because doing episodic, it's easy for an actor to fall into the same kind of rhythm, and the performance can start to get sort of flat. So it's important for me to find out if there's something that the actor thinks, oh, well, you know, I'd like to do X, Y, or Z, and to try to work that into the next season's scripts.
That's really great. Can you speak a little bit on the difference between show running and writing, and really what show running entails?
Well, show running is writing and producing, and a lot of writers have a difficult time becoming producers because we're a very solitary group, us writers. We don't really, you know, we like to be by ourselves writing. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, you're thrown into a situation where you're on the set or in the office, and there's a lot of questions, and a lot of people are asking about the color of the drapes, and you're going like, green. Yeah, green's good, I guess. Green, sure. And so the other side of it is you have to be aware of the cost and the pace that that each episode is being filmed at. In
your actual writing. So you're not going to write
in the writing, but then on a day-to-day basis, so that you may, you know, you also have to be willing to be flexible with the script. I believe that unless a scene is set, you know, at a First Holy Communion at a church or something that specific, that any good scene can play indoors or outdoors. So there'll be times when, oh my God, there's a blizzard, and we're supposed to be shooting in Central Park, and we can't. Well, let's shoot it in the living room set, because they're going to have that conversation, but they're going to do it in the living room. So you have to be very flexible and almost forget that you wrote it. you almost have to let it go, and you also have to trust the director, the actors, that they're in sync with you on making the best show possible.
Right, right. I have a couple more questions, then I'm going to open it up for a Q&A from this crowd. There's so much to cover, Tom, and we're just barely getting there, but I know there are a lot of writers in this room, so I want to quote you one more time and ask you a question. You said, they're talking about the writer's room now. If you're going to create a world in a television show, you have to have multiple voices. If you have all those different writers and all those different experiences and all their lived lives bringing the best of themselves to their scripts, then you have a real world. How would you describe and teach to writers how to bring their best selves to their writing?
Well, first of all, I have to read something they've written that makes me think, oh, wow, this person is seeing the world from their own unique perspective.
Right.
Because, the analogy I always use is that it's an orchestra. I play the tuba. The last thing I need are 5 tubas. I need a violinist. I need a cellist. I need a drummer. So as long as the person, and I've read not just scripts, but TV scripts or movie scripts. I've read essays and plays, and because you want the people who have put themselves out there as writers.
Right.
So that's what I do.
So their perspective is like the number one, if they're
Yeah.
unique. Not to call out Debbie. Is Debbie Sargent?
Debbie.
Can I tell the story you told me earlier, the cocktail hour? She said that she gave you an essay she wrote about her partner's hands. And that
Yeah.
you foolishly hired her. And that really
Not foolishly.
connects there.
Yeah. Well, that's
Yeah.
what I'm saying. It was so wonderfully personal that I was like, oh, okay, this person's got something to say.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about hands, so I'm just gonna just go with it.
That's so good. Okay, one more question, and then we'll open it up. What haven't you done that you want to do? Is there are you going to, do a female comedy with Amy Poehler one day? Are you thinking musicals? Like, what would be maybe a secret? Is there anything that you just think, oh wow, if I could just do? Or have you done it all?
I don't know. I'm working on a couple of things, and right now they're the things I want to do. So
Yeah.
I'm like a floozy. Whatever's in the room is the one I want.
That's so good. That's so good.
So yeah, as long as it's going to challenge me and hopefully challenge the audience.
Right.
Then I want to do it. But it's not like,
Right.
4th century Poland. That's where I want to write about.
Right. Right. We're going to end our evening. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you, Tom. You're so awesome. Please give it up for Tom Fontana.